What about the horses and trying to get these police horses out of the city, off the city streets?
This should be a no-brainer. We have horses, there's either 6 or 9 of them. We have the capacity for 16 in the stable. It costs about $585,000 a year to keep them. We are laying off people in city government because there's no money. The state has screwed the city has screwed the schools have screwed the teachers union. And it's all coming down from the top. When you hear a conservative talk about, well, we need all this money on the top so it comes down and funnels down to the people on the bottom, it never happens. And the people are beginning to realize it now because we're closing schools.
Yeah.
And we're still at war. We are still spending billions of dollars at war, and we are closing our schools. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. You know, it seems like people in government that have any access to hire people, like the mayor has access to the governor. If I call up the governor, he's not going to answer. If Mayor Adams calls up the governor, he's going to get through and say, look, we are closing schools, damn it. And the governor ought to get on the phone with Obama and say, damn it, we are closing schools. What is the matter with you? This is a no-brainer. As far as the horses are concerned, the horses are wonderful horses. They are absolutely gorgeous. They are well-trained. I agree with all that. But they're used as weapons.
Yeah, and a tool.
That's the thing that drives me up the wall. The police department in this city and every other city that has these mounted police have trained these horses to hurt human beings. And why do we do that? And where are all the activists in animal rights? We had a letter read at one of our meetings about the horses from animal rights people that run
Humane Society.
The Humane Society that support the mounted police.
And I do have a letter from the executive director of the Oregon Humane Society as separate testimony if you'd like it. It's very brief. Okay, it's brief. Members of the committee, the Oregon Humane Society urges you to reconsider your proposed amendment prohibiting the use of animals for the purposes of crowd control. Established in 1868, the Oregon Humane Society as the police mounted patrol unit are uniquely positioned to provide nonviolent and effective crowd control. They enhance the ability of law enforcement to maintain the peace and have a calming effect on everyone in their midst. The officers themselves are equally effective at diffusing potentially violent situations, and as a team, the human and animal members of the Mounted Patrol Unit are exemplary representatives of the Portland Police Force. We feel strongly that the Mounted Patrol Unit offers the City of Portland a peaceful solution to conflict. The horses of the MPU are gentle and well-trained, as are the officers who ride them. They are the perfect nonviolent tool for resolving conflict. Officers on horseback have an advantage over those on the ground, that they have better visibility and are able to get closer into a large crowded area without escalating the tension through a display of deadly force. We sincerely ask that you discard the proposed amendment and instead advocate for greater support of the Portland Police Bureau Mounted Patrol Unit. Sincerely, Sharon Harmon, the Executive Director of the Oregon Humane Society.
And you'll leave that for public testimony?
I have a question
Yes,
for
she
you
asked
on
me
that.
for herself, yes.
And do you, there's a lot of comments on tactics in that letter. Where would you rate the Humane Society relative to the other testimony we've received in terms of, from the general public on commenting on the merits of tactics?
I don't know Sharon's experience. I know that she's been on that board for quite some time, that I just can't speak to that.
We don't understand why. We wrote them letters, we called them, we asked them for an explanation. They haven't given us one.
So the Humane Society wrote a letter on
Wrote
their
a letter in
stationery
support
said,
to keep these horses so the horses can be used in crowd control because they see it as a calming effect and we see it as the possibility of crushing somebody. And if you've seen some of the videos with Occupy when they went after them, you can see the horses squeezing people into really bad areas. The horses are wonderful. The cops that do that should be fired.
Yeah.
The police commissioner should be fired.
Joe, every time I see those horses go into the crowd, it turns it into a riotous situation.
Yes.
It's not a calming situation. That's false. It turns almost riotous when those horses charge the crowd. And a lot of times they charge on the sidewalks, they charge and there's civil rights being broken by those men on horses.
Yes, because what they do is they trap you. If you go into the street right here, that's technically a violation of the traffic laws or whatever. So it's like jaywalking. So they can write you a ticket. So they bring the horses on the street and they put them on the sidewalk and they charge them down where people have to go in the street and then they're arrested.
Yeah.
That's just outrageous.
I've seen horses get hurt in these
And
situations.
for the mayor and this city council in Portland to say that the police were really wonderful with Occupy is a lie.
Yes.
They are lying, or they don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
Because those of us that were there, that weren't arrested, that didn't violate any kind of a law, but were witnesses to it, said, "Oh my God." That's what the first reaction that I had when they used those horses against the people of Portland. I said, "Oh my God." I was terrified that one of the horses would go down and hurt somebody. I was terrified for the police officer to get hurt. I was terrified for one of the protesters to step the wrong way. I was terrified when they were opening and spraying chemicals into the horse's face.
Now, before all that action started, people were just in the park, right?
They were just
in the park.
They were across from the Justice Center. If they really wanted to screw around, they would not camp across from the Justice Center.
And all this stuff that you just mentioned all happened when the police came in and created this outrageous chaos in the street.
There was an ultimatum given to the people that were camping out. I think it was a midnight ultimatum that they had to leave. And midnight came and not a lot of people were leaving. Some did leave. But not enough. However, what happened was there were thousands of people that came downtown to support the campers. And they said, "We are here as witnesses. Don't you hurt those campers." And they came in and they tried to use the horses, and even using the 6 horses, jamming them into people didn't work because the people did not back up. So they had to remove the horses, and then they had to back up, and then they needed more cops. So they got more cops. Then they got the RoboCop, and then what they did was they would arrest some people for jaywalking, or they would arrest people because you were talking back to them, or you didn't respond right away, so they arrested you for disorderly conduct. The police, the bottom line of all of this is the police department have earned the right not to have those horses in their jurisdiction. We should take them away and send them to green pastures, work with children, work with the vets coming back, because we know there's good programs that are out there that we could use the horses, and we ought to utilize them that way or retire them completely and make sure that they are honored and they have a good life. What I'm terrified about sometimes is that the city, in one of their budget cuts, will cut the horses out and then sell them to the highest bidder. And I worry about that, and I think those horses should be honored. I mean, if you hit a horse, that's like hitting a cop. That's a serious offense. So what does that mean? That means that horse is a very special animal. So let's treat him in retirement the way we should treat them. Let them loose. Free the goddamn horses. That's our battle cry.
Thank you, Joe. And you've been showing up in City Council, and you also went to one of the charter commissions and brought this before the council and the charter, right? You and Roberto have both been showing up doing this.
We went to the charter commission, we brought it up, and the charter commission said, "You know what? Okay, let's ask the voters in Portland whether we should have these horses for crowd control, or we should ban the use of pepper spray. Let's ask the voters. The city council shut down the charter commission.
They pulled the rug
They
out.
pulled the rug out, they pulled the plug, whatever you want to call it, they shut it down.
Yep.
And it never came to light. That's the attitude that you get when you keep putting in these politicians. We need citizen representatives, period, on every level. Let them loose. Free the goddamn horses. That's our battle cry.